See? Okay. I look terrible, man. I look really terrible. Anyway, home slices. What's happening? What's happening? I was having withdrawals. You know, craving the content, craving talking to you guys, but didn't have a good enough reason. So I was like, let me finish with the Combat Sports Awards, and then once I'm done with that, I'll find a reason to actually get online and actually have a conversation with you guys. I'm not even sure I'm doing this, but it's been so dry. I miss talking to you guys, so I don't want to wait up until like next year in order to have a live discussion with you guys. Um, I'm actually even thinking about opening a second channel where I'm going to be where I'm going to be doing the awards and everything like that, so that it doesn't interfere with the content of this channel. Because I have massive plans for that particular, what do you call it, for that particular award show. So I'm really excited about what's about to come. Um, yeah, so we can have a discussion. Any one of you can actually ask me whatever question you want to ask. Um, I'm going to talk about UFC 311. I haven't done like a lot of research. It's just me, going off the top of my head. Yeah. So basically, that's it. Um, where should I start? Where should I start? I think a lot of people are on break. They're in their festive season. They're probably not going to log in and watch the stream. Anyway, where should I start? Should I start with Adesanya versus Imavov? Um, yeah, let's start there. Adesanya versus Imavov. Man, that's an incredible fight. But to be honest, I would have liked to see. I would have liked to see Adesanya versus Hamza Chimaev. Aileen said, "Hello from Germany, brother. How are you, my guy? Hi from South Africa. Do you Savas? I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name properly. I apologize for that. I'm good. How are you, man? So Adesanya versus Imavov. I honestly feel like Adesanya versus Hamza Chimaev would have been a massive fight. However, I feel like maybe the UFC feels like um, the UFC probably feels like they've been promising Hamza Chimaev a lot of title shots, and they haven't been delivering at all. And I really feel bad for him. I know a lot of people are well after Hamza Chimaev actually defeated Robert Whittaker, people are back on board, but a lot of people were like basically trashing Hamza Chimaev. So I guess I understand why the UFC is basically trying to. Hello from Rio de Janeiro. How are you, my guy? Welcome to the channel, man. I'm seeing a couple of new people here. My regular um my regular people are not joining the stream, but you know what? Welcome. I enjoy talking to everyone. So yeah, back to what I was saying. So okay, let me respond to your comments, and then I'll continue what I was saying. Eric, hello from Rio de Janeiro. Okay, I responded to that. What's up from Detroit, Michigan, USA? Jeff, um, Janice, you Nigerian? No, I'm South African, my guy. Savas, Eric, I'm Brazilian too. Wow. DJJ, Curtis, shout out Mike Hunt. That's crazy. That's crazy. Anyway, so I feel like Hamza Chimaev has been promised a couple of title shots and they haven't come to fruition. So I get why the UFC is not making South Africa rules. I appreciate that, man. I get why the UFC is not making the fight between Adesanya versus Chimaev. Also, because I feel like the UFC feels like they still want to retain Adesanya's star power. And if Hamza Chimaev just runs through him, which is highly possible, it's going to take away Adesanya's ability to sell pay per views. Obviously, it won't go away like that easy. Um, but I feel like the UFC is avoiding a situation whereby they are decreasing the value of Adesanya. But I feel like Imavov is an off match for me, to be honest. But nonetheless, I feel like without doing any proper research, um, I feel like Adesanya is probably going to win. I don't think Imavov is that crazy of a grappler. He's not Dricus Duplessis. I think one of the things that you are very nice. I appreciate that. Um, I feel like one of the reasons that the Dricus Duplessis had success against what do you call him against Adesanya is largely because Dricus Duplessis is a very large man. You know, my fellow countrymen. I feel like Dricus Duplessis is a massive guy, so he had the ability to actually use his size in order to actually outmuscle um, Israel Adesanya. But we shouldn't forget the fact that Israel Adesanya was actually on his way to winning that fight. And I picked Dricus Duplessis, right? I picked Dricus Duplessis to actually win that fight. But we shouldn't forget that Israel Adesanya was actually on his way to actually winning that fight. But it didn't happen because I remember breaking the fight down, right? I remember when I was Zakir, bro, put us the predictions for Octagon. Bro, if Topuria and Poirier fight each other, who um who will win this fight? What do you think? Okay, let me respond to the first question. I try not to do every single promotion, largely because I avoid doing predictions for what do you call it, for companies that do not have enough information, right? So I don't want to affect my prediction accuracy because my prediction accuracy on the channel is somewhere around 70%, like in total. Like I've been doing predictions since last year, and my prediction accuracy is really high. And I don't want to affect that. In MMA, I'm around 70%, and in boxing, I've been doing boxing predictions, and I'm at like 80 or 90% prediction accuracy when it comes to boxing in total. Out of every fight that I've ever predicted in boxing, I'm very good at predicting boxing fights. So I think my prediction accuracy in total is like 80 to 90%, and in MMA, specifically the UFC, I'm like 70%. So organizations or promotions like Octagon and all these type of things, I think it's challenging to do predictions for them because there's not enough information, and for me to seek out that information is going to take up a lot of time. And then ultimately, I don't feel like it's going to yield the kind of results I want. I promise I'm going to add them as the channel grows, but at the moment, I feel like I'm going to just focus on. I'll sometimes, occasionally, I'll do PFL. So occasionally, I'll do Bellator, but my main focus is going to be the UFC and boxing. Right now, I want to make sure because boxing, I also do it sometimes, not all the time. So I want to implement boxing on a regular basis starting next year because right now the channel has been largely focused on MMA, and then I've only done boxing for like major cards. So I'm going to work on changing that. And then, but I'll promise I'll try to actually add them as time progresses. Um, Bro, if Tuporia and Poirier fight each other, who do you think wins this fight? What do you think? Okay, I think a lot of people overhype what the Tuporia, or rather overhype Tuporia's boxing abilities, right? Because if you look at Tuporia's fights, he was losing the fight to Max Holloway. He was losing the fight to Alexander Volkanovski until he found the knockout shot, which makes Ilya Tuporia significantly different from every other fighter because he's able to find that one punch. But for me, it just feels like Ilia Tuporia is Josh Emmett with an elite wrestling ability, right? Josh Emmett does not have a wrestling ability, but to me, Ilia Tuporia feels a little like Josh Emmett with the threat of the takedown, and who's a little bit more cleaner than Emmett because Emmett has that one shot that actually knocks you out. Ilia Tuporia is good at pressuring. There are a couple of things that Ilia Tuporia does a little bit better than Josh Emmett, but to me, it feels like he's good on the feet. He has power to knock you out, but he's not elite. That's one of the reasons why Ilia Tuporia. Why? People do not ask themselves why has Ilia Tuporia been saying he's going to submit Islam Makhachev, because Ilya knows that Islam Makhachev is a very talented striker and he won't give him the opportunities that he needs in order to knock him out. So Islam Makhachev is very, very technically good as a striker. So Ilya Tuporia knows that the only way for him to succeed is by trying to submit him, right? Because Islam Makhachev, even though I feel like Islam Makhachev is a very talented wrestler, I feel like he has shown that he's not elite on the ground. For example, he struggled against what do you call him, Alexander Volkanovski. He struggled to take down Dustin Poirier, and granted, I will say that Dustin Poirier looked significantly improved in their recent fight this year. Alexander Volkanovski obviously significantly prepared for that. He was training with people like Craig Jones. He built a lot of muscle in order to like. Alexander Volkanovski was even upfront about this whole thing. He was like, "I'm going to gain muscle and go up to 170 and then cut down to 155." Right? That's what Alexander Volkanovski said. So he was significantly prepared for that. So it doesn't mean that Islam Makhachev is not an elite wrestler. I just feel like, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think Islam Makhachev is a better striker than he is a wrestler, to be honest. He's good at both, but if you were to ask me what is his best ability, I would say it's striking because look at the fights that he's been winning, right? Obviously, he submitted people like Bobby Green and stuff like that because Bobby Green obviously is fundamentally a striker. But if you look at fights with people like Charles Oliveira, even though he submitted Charles Oliveira, it was after he knocked him down. It wasn't like Islam Makhachev took him down and out wrestled him. No, he knocked him down first, and then that's when he actually found an opportunity to submit him. Um, who else? Who was his second? Alexander Volkanovski. He couldn't control himself properly on the ground. He won because of the striking exchanges. The first fight, the second fight against Alexander Volkanovski, he knocked him out. Against Dustin Poirier, he couldn't control Dustin Poirier. He had to submit him after a nice move on the he pulled his leg and all those type of things. It was nice, but it wasn't him dominating on the ground. It was basically him being an incredible fighter, right? So on the feet, I feel like Islam is going to beat Ilia Topuria. I don't feel like I don't feel like Ilia Topuria is going to have any major success on the ground. I feel like Ilia Topuria has a lot of holes in his striking. If you can avoid getting pressured by him, you can beat Ilia Topuria. Like he was getting hit a lot in the fight with Alexander Volkanovski as well as Max Holloway. Just that it feels like both of them got tired of moving around, and that's the problem. You can't get tired against Ilia Topuria. So to answer your question, it's a close fight, but I think Islam Makhachev is very talented everywhere. I don't feel like Ilia Tuporia is going to be able to control him or submit him on the ground. I don't think he's going to have the same level of success on the feet. So I'm going to go with Islam Makhachev. Unofficially, though, my predictions might change after I do a little bit more research. Eric, Alex Pereira. Okay, my guy. Um, Curtis Adesanya is not that good. Pereira let him win. I don't think so. I think maybe we can argue that Alex Pereira was depleting himself by cutting down to 185. But I think Alex Pereira fights the same way, right? I think Adesanya taught him a lesson because normally when Alex Pereira thinks you are hurt, he gets into this mode whereby he becomes reckless. He ignores his defense and focuses on offense, right? It's only after Israel Adesanya knocked him out where you see Alex Pereira being a little bit cautious. He throws a couple of punches, checks if you're going to respond, then comes back. And then if he feels like okay you're not responding, then that's when he starts to do that thing whereby he stands in front of you and then locks in and then picks you apart, like goes to the body, goes to the head, goes to the body, goes to the head, and then until you go to the ground. Every finishing sequence, as long as Alex Pereira doesn't knock you out clean, he finishes you almost in the same way. He puts you on the fence, and then he selects his shots. Like he's going to go to the body. Once you open up at the top, he goes to the head. If you cover up again, he goes to the body, just like that up until you fall to the ground every single time. As long as he doesn't land, like if obviously there are fights whereby he's ended the fight the way he beat Sean Strickland with 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 one punch, right? But when he doesn't do that, he picks you apart on the fence, and I think that's how Israel Adesanya, whether you like him or not, is a very intelligent fighter, and he saw that opening. He realized and he saw that Alex Pereira, if he feels like he's got you hurt, look at how he finished Israel Adesanya the first time. Adesanya was hurt, and then he pressed him against the fence. He picked his shots and he was beating him up until the referee stepped in. That's how Alex Pereira finishes you. So Israel Adesanya was smart enough to know that that's the sequence. He doesn't change. That's how he finishes you. So because of that, Israel Adesanya was able to find a way to play like, oh my God, I'm hurt, I'm hurt, I'm hurt. He knew Alex would relax as far as his defense, and he would be open to a counter, and that's what happened. So yeah, and obviously only Israel Adesanya could be able to identify something like that because they fought so many times that he noticed the weakness, and I feel like Alex Pereira addressed it because I saw him going back to his old ways when he was fighting Halil Roundtree, and then he got, I wouldn't say rocked, but he got hurt a little bit in the fight, and he had to pace himself up until Halil started to slow down, and that's when he came in and actually finished the fight. So, for me personally, I don't think it was luck, man. I think it was a calculated strategy based on experience. Kevin, you're going to let me hit or what? Wow. Zico, who gives a fuck? Who gives a FJK? What do you think? Oh, okay. And clearly, there's 29 people online, and so they care about what I think. Dodge Demo, Josh Emmett was a state championship wrestler. What are you talking about? Yeah, I mean, everyone can say I was a state championship wrestler. There's a state championship wrestler in South Africa, in Brazil, in America, in Canada. What does that even mean, my guy? Like, let's not get too excited. If Josh Emmett was that elite, then we would have seen him submit people, right? It's like saying Yoel Romero is an Olympian or something, and then after that he just strikes. It means he was good at wrestling. People don't understand that MMA is not any particular sport. Like you can be good at jiu-jitsu and be horrible at MMA. You can be good at kickboxing and still be horrible at MMA. You can be good at wrestling and still horrible at MMA, right? So just because you're a state champion somewhere or in whatever country, it doesn't really mean much until we see that being implemented in the octagon. So clearly, whatever championship he won, there were not that many high level fighters because if it was that useful, he would be using it. So clearly, it's not that useful. I mean, isn't Derek Brunson an NCAA champion or something like that? Like, let's not get too excited about people having national championships and all of a sudden they are the most incredible fighters. I mean, Kobe Covington has a state championship or something like that, and he's trash. Like he's gotten 3 title shots and lost all of them, right? So let's not get too excited about giving people accolades because they were a national champions. They were a national champion somewhere. Like if you said this person was a world champion, that's different. You know, Gilbert Burns is a world champion in jiu-jitsu, so it's not just in his country. For all we know, the competition could be trash. You know, like the competition could have been trash. That's why he was champion. You know, we never know. I mean, so let's not do that. Um, Michael, as hair saves lives. Wow. Islam is sick as hell. Mota is high. Hi, my guy. So many highs. User Amanda Nunes smash or pass. You know what? There are moments where Amanda Nunes looks good, and there are others where you're like, oh, she looks like a dude. So it depends on how she looks in certain moments. There are certain pictures where I'm like, damn, she looks good. But there are those that you're like, hmm. Anyway, so I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that. Mohammed Shiva Haida, is Magomed Gadzi a log for Vegas? I have to do a little bit more research, unfortunately. I don't want to give predictions on, especially when you ask me if I've been on a streak when it comes to my locks, you know, so I don't want to ruin that streak by giving you a lock that I haven't researched yet. So, because my locks have been winning like for the past couple of weeks, so yeah, I want to be able to research that before I say, yeah, no, he's a lock. Um, Zakaria, even with Yusuf Zalal, was a close fight against Tuporia. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Ile Tuporia has the ability to finish you, right? But when he fights someone equally dangerous, he he looks a little bit human. So, for example, look at how he fought Josh Emmett. He couldn't finish Josh Emmett. He won the fight very clearly, but he couldn't finish Josh Emmett. Why? Because Josh Emmett has power. So if Ilya, and obviously he knows, Max Holloway does not have that much power. It just means like if he catches you clean, obviously he can knock you out, but he's not the kind of guy that typically puts people to sleep. Him and Volkanovski usually win through volume. Like they beat you because of like they've thrown like 100 or 150 strikes to your face. So obviously that's going to hurt. But they are normally not people who are going to land one shot that's going to knock you out. Max Holloway knocked out Justin Gaethje and the Korean Zombie last year. Before that, when was the last time Max Holloway knocked out anyone? So Ilya Tuporia fought with those people knowing that they are not that much of a threat as far as knockout. That's why he says he's saying he's going to wrestle Makhachev basically because he knows it's gonna be a problem on the feet. Um, user User 96 means, where are you from, my brother? I'm from South Africa, my guy. Um, Phase YN. Dog, are you in Africa? Yeah, I'm in the south of Africa. Africa is a continent. I'm at the south of it, like quite literally. I'm at the south, at the bottom. Yeah, I'd say yeah, at the bottom of the continent. Um, Branko Adesanya's career is over. This lost like five in a row. It's not five. It's. I think it's four fights in a row. He lost to Alex Pereira, won again. It's not even in a row, but I understand what you're trying to say. He lost to Alex Pereira, won the rematch, lost to Strickland, and then lost to Duplessis. So he's lost three out of his last four fights. It's not too bad, to be honest. And I mean, losing to Alex Pereira, who's been destroying people at light heavyweight. To be honest, I feel like light heavyweight is a trash division. There are a couple of decent fighters. I mean, Vitor Petrino, wasn't Vitor Petrino ranked? No, he's not ranked yet, but he was before. Anthony Smith is ranked. There are so many terrible fighters that wouldn't be ranked in any other division, but they are ranked in light heavyweight and heavyweight. So, for me personally, I feel like Alex Pereira is a very talented fighter, but we also have to take into consideration the fact that, you know what, light heavyweight is not that deep. You know, if someone like Anthony Smith can be ranked, then it shows that the level of skill there is not that great. You know, if you take Anthony Smith and you take him, for example, to welterweight or middleweight, he's not going to be in the rankings, right? So, um, I respect what Alex Pereira has been able to do, but Jamal Hill in middleweight is not going to do well. Like let's say we take Jamal Hill and his skill set, right, and we take them to welterweight. Let's say we are able to somehow shrink him into a welterweight. Jamal Hill is not that good. Like to be honest, he's not that good. There are not that many people who are good at light heavyweight. I think Carlos Oberg is decent, but for example, if he fights someone like Hamza Chimaev, it's over for him. I would like to see him against someone like Hermanson, for example, Jared Mearshot, like those type of people. I would like to see some of these people tested against those kind of people. Gerald is not the kind of example I should have been using. There are some really decent fighters who I feel like would do significantly well at light heavyweight. I don't feel like there's a lot of talent at light heavyweight and heavyweight. Like heavyweight, Taito Ivasa is chasing Tony Ferguson as far as his losing streak, and yet he's still ranked in heavyweight. That just goes to tell you how much of a bad division it is. Maybe it's good when it comes to the top seven going up, but below the top seven, it becomes a little bit tricky, to be honest. Like, it's crazy to think that Taito Ivasa is still ranked. He's been losing. He's on a losing streak. Like probably he's second to Tony Ferguson in the UFC, right? And he's still ranked. That's crazy. Like no other division would you have anything like that happening. But because there are no talented people in that division, you find people who are on a five-fight losing streak still ranked. So sometimes when we give people credit for achieving things in certain divisions, we have to also take into consideration the fact that the division is terrible, right? Like that also counts. And so they can look incredible, but who are they fighting? So yeah. Anyway, he lost twice in a row, not five times. Yeah, I was correct in that actually. Kim Jong Un, you need to calm down. Okay, Kim. Branko, I just feel like he's washed up. To be honest, I don't agree, man. I just feel like if 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 Hamza Chimaev was not in that division, um, who else? Who else? Caio Boralho. I think Israel Adesanya could have managed to maybe become a champion again. I feel like if Israel Adesanya moves up to light heavyweight, he has a shot at becoming a champion again. Because till this day, he is technically the only person who's ever beaten Alex Pereira. So I don't know why Israel, but I think Israel Adesanya is rich right now. He's just doing this because he loves it. But I feel like if he truly wants to become a champion again, but like I was saying, light heavyweight is terrible. If Israel Adesanya builds up muscle, oh, Carlos, what do you call him? His friend who's fighting at light heavyweight, Carlos something. I forgot his name. Carlos Ulberg. Yes. Oh, Carlos Ulberg is fighting at the light heavyweight. So obviously Carlos Ulberg is trying to become a champion. I think probably that's why Israel Adesanya is now going to move up. Okay. But I still feel like he's really good. Like I was saying, Israel Adesanya was winning the fight against Dricus Duplessis. Unfortunately, and I even predicted it. And something happens with Israel Adesanya in the fourth and fifth round. Like that's when, if you want to beat Israel Adesanya, survive up until the fourth and fifth round. Once you get there, you're going to be able to beat him if you still have enough cardio. And I said that in my breakdown of the fight. I was like, Israel Adesanya is the better fighter, but I felt like something happens. His cardio just disappears in the fourth and fifth round, and that's what happened. That's where Dricus Duplessis was able to finish him. Look at all his fights. He's really, really, really good for the first three rounds, and then after that he declines. I don't know. Maybe that's his game plan. He goes into the fight planning to say, I have to win the first three rounds. I can drop the last two, knowing I have the first three in the bag. Obviously, he's not going to intentionally drop the rounds, but I think that's his game plan. That's just how I felt. Anyway, time Willie, dude likes dudes. Okay, since when? Dude, I love girls, man. Like I love girls with all my heart. If only you knew. If I didn't have to get married, I wouldn't. So that's a very incorrect way to put that. And timely Willie, how much heroin are you on? Yeah, these questions are hilarious. I wanted to humor you, but I'm tired. And what do you think about Ilya versus Jin Silva in the future? Jin Silva looks good on the feed. To be honest, I feel like Jin Silva is a little bit cleaner than Ilya Tuporia. But the problem is, I don't feel like Gene Silva has much of a ground game. So because of that, I feel like Ilia Tuporia might win, and he might win via submission. Let me see who's next. User 69 is bro. What's your favorite MMA YouTuber? My favorite MMA YouTuber. I wouldn't call him my favorite MMA YouTuber, but these are the only two people I watch, to be honest, and that's the MMA Guru and MMA Joey. Like those are the only two YouTubers I really and truly watch, largely because I feel like they offer different viewpoints. Sometimes I disagree with a lot with MMA Guru because I feel like he makes up a lot of things that he says. Sometimes I don't agree with what MMA Joey says because it just feels like he's saying things in order to just be consistent with the path that he has chosen to be the opposite of the MMA guru. So sometimes I don't agree with Joey. Sometimes I don't agree with Guru, but you can't deny the fact that both of them are really, really talented at what they do. I hardly, I think I didn't realize it up until I started. I added the channel categories to the Combat Sports Awards, right? I realized that MMA Guru and MMA Joey are basically reporters, basically, because every single thing that happens in the sport, I hear it from their point of view. So whenever there's a new fight that's announced, whenever something happened in the MMA community, whatever happens, like they report about it, and that's when I was like, oh, MMA Guru and MMA Joey are basically a commentary version of Full Mount MMA, which is probably the only channel that covers MMA news, if I'm not mistaken. So So yeah, I think those are the two channels that I watch. For me personally, oh, but UFC Predictions Tracker is not necessarily a YouTuber. He is, but I don't obviously know his name. Personally, I just know the name of his channel. I've never seen him, obviously. So I think he's also a really, really dope creator. I love channels that not only bring something new, but that also add value to 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 you as a person, as a viewer. So when I'm watching something, I need to feel like, okay, I gained something from watching this person, and that's one of the reasons why my channel is so heavily focused on statistics, and I try my best to make sure that my predictions are as accurate as possible, so that you can miss me based on the results, right? Even if you don't like me, you can say, "Oh my God, I wish that guy would drop his predictions." Why? Because my predictions are really accurate. My breakdowns are really accurate. So I feel like those are the main channels that I gravitate towards. So yeah, so far I'd say between MMA Guru and MMA Joey, those are the only two YouTubers I really watch. I hear people talking about Lucas Tracy, but for me personally, I don't see it. There are people who like him, and that's awesome. He has like 100 and something thousand subscribers. So kudos to him. But for me personally, I'd say Joey and Guru. Um, Charles James Kelly, 2-on-1 arm control Smith. Percy, do you think John Jones is the GOAT? Yeah, man. I feel like a lot of people are trashing him because of the PED things and stuff like that. But to be honest, everyone was on that. Not everyone, but we know that a lot of people were on that thing. And apart from that, I feel like that he's been so dominant for so much of his career that it makes you think, even if he wasn't on that, he might have been able to achieve what he achieved. I'm not sure. I'm not saying that this is factual or anything like that. I'm just saying um, I feel like he's achieved enough for me to not. I focus on achievements, to be honest. I don't look at anything else when I consider whether someone is the greatest of all time or not. So for me, John Jones is exactly that. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but I think he is. I actually made a top 20 list of the greatest fighters of all time, and Muhammad Ali is number one. Number two is Bruce Lee, purely because of the contributions they've done to martial arts as a whole. And then John Jones is number three. George St. Pierre is number four. Mike Tyson is number five. Number six is Floyd Mayweather. Number seven, I think it's is it Anderson Silva? I don't know, but you can go watch it on the channel. So I did actually do a top 20 list of the greatest fighters of all time across every sport, whether it's boxing or whatever the case is. Um, Charles Kelly, he is 30-0 against his wife. Wow. Kaifa T Apollo, bro, is that Diddy? Wow. Yusuf, hello from California, brother. How are you, my guy? Welcome to the stream. Reef, buddy, get some Vaseline in those eyes, man. Vaseline. Why Vaseline? User 96. Which UFC fighters you can beat in a street fight, bro? I don't know, man. I don't know. There aren't that many. I don't know. I honestly haven't fought in a very long time because the last time I fought, I felt like I almost hurt someone really badly. So, and I was in middle school. So, and that was like, let me see, when was it? It was, it was over a decade ago since I've ever fought. Because it's not worth it. In today's time, you beat someone and then a couple of days, months, or years later, they come back with a gun and kill you. Like in today's time, I heard a story. There was the story of this dude who beat up some guy, and then A year later, that guy came to that guy's place, knocked on the door. When he opened the door, shot him dead. Right? For me, it's no longer worth it. Like fighting, I'm only going to fight if I feel like I don't have a choice. Right? So maybe my fighting skills have deteriorated. So I don't know. But I'm going to go start doing MMA once I'm full time on the channel. I'm going to start training MMA, right? Just for health. I don't want to fight anyone. For health purposes, I'm going to start training MMA. Charles, I can't stand Anthony Smith. He's so annoying, and he never gives fighters credit in his podcast and interviews. Guys, delusional about his skills. I agree, man. And on top of all of that, I feel like Anthony Smith is at the wrong gym. Like, I think Anthony Smith's mindset is the cause of his head coach. What's his name? X something. Factory X. Yes, that gym. That's where Cody Brandage trains. Like, if you train in that gym, you're never going to be a champion. To be honest, I thought I was wrong about this because Brandon Royval used to train there, and then I heard Brandon Royval actually left that gym, and I was like, okay, makes sense. And then also there's Jonathan Martinez. I was also like, oh, Jonathan Martinez is pretty decent, and I heard he left the gym. So clearly, if you want to be successful, and I think Yusuf Zalal is still training at Factory X. He, I saw a couple of holes in his fighting abilities. For me personally, I don't hate anyone to be specific. Like, I don't hate any specific person or gym or whatever the case is. But Factory X, I mean, like, you can't have Anthony Smith and Cody Brandage in the same gym, and then you blame the fighters. I blame the gym. Like, you can't have both terrible fighters in the same camp, who are basically failing at their careers. Anthony Smith is delusional. I feel like when Cody Brandage was acting out and wanting a DQ decision, or a DQ win, I feel like his coach was actually encouraging him to act it out and take the disqualification win. Right? So that's why I'm like, I blame the gym, not necessarily the fighters. It's kind of like Aljamain Sterling and Merab Devalishvili. Can you imagine how incredible Aljamain Sterling or Merab would have been if he had been training under Javier Mendez or Habib Nurmagomedov? They would have been killers. Look at the difference that it made for Bilal Mohammed. Bilal was not that great. And then after he started training with Habib, I mean, he turned into a different fighter. And now even like when other people are training with Bilal now are starting to win, like he's starting to have the same effect that Habib had on him. So I feel like there are certain gyms that I'm like, oh, if you train there, you are probably going to lose, even if you are on a streak, an undefeated streak. So Yusuf Zalal, I don't know, man. I saw a couple of holes. Maybe they are going to address them. Maybe Yusuf Zalal is going to be the fighter that proves me wrong. But I'm sticking with what I'm saying. Factory X, if you want to be a champion, find a different place. Because like a lot of their fighters have been losing. Ariana Lipski wasn't she training there? I'm not sure. I can't remember. But she's also no longer there, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of the fighters who train there leave, and then they start to have some level of success, right? Anyway, let me stop trashing. But I mean, I'm just being honest based on the results they've had. It's not like I'm trashing them or anything like that. 2023, they were on a losing streak. Like every single week or every single month or something like that, there was someone from a Factory X who was busy losing. So, name one person who's achieved greatness from Factory X. Like, if I'm wrong. Like, I'm not trying to trash the gym or anything like that. I'm just being honest based on their results. Like, this is not my opinion. Go look at Factory X's results as far as win and loss. in the past 5 years, or not even five, in the past 2 or 3 years. It hasn't been great, you know. Anyway, uh, Scrap Legends thoughts on Kamaru Usman. Um, Kamaru Usman. I think Kamaru Usman is still elite, but you know what? Because Bilal is the champion, he still has a shot at winning the title. I feel like, what do you call him? Shafkat Rakhmonov is not as good as a lot of people thought he was, and I actually did call it. One of my subscribers, once upon an oil fest, was like, he asked me a question when Shafkat was supposed to fight Bilal, and he was like, "Who do you think wins?" And I was like, "I think Bilal, because this was before the fight between Ian Gary and Shafkat." And he was like, "Who do you think is going to win?" And I was like, "Bilal." Even though at the time it wasn't a popular opinion, because a lot of people at the time were like, "No, Shafkat is like a destroyer. He's going to run through Bilal." And I was like, you know what? He struggled to take down, what do you call him? Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. You know, that's not a good sign. I even said on that breakdown, and I was like, Shafkat is good at jiu-jitsu, not wrestling. And we saw that against Ian Gary. Even on the feet, I felt like Bilal Muhammad was actually outstriking Leon Edwards, and I felt like Leon Edwards is significantly better on the feet than Shafkat Rakhmonov. So because of that, I felt like Bilal Muhammad would have the striking advantage and the wrestling advantage. The only advantage I would have given to Shafkat would have been the jiu-jitsu, because obviously he has the ability to finish a fight. So because of that, I was like, you know what, Bilal is going to win. So for me personally, I don't feel like there's a lot of threat in the top five. Maybe Joaquin Buckley might be a problem. Okay, I don't know. I just feel like Kamaru Usman, even at the age of 37 or something like that, still might be a problem, you know? I think he still might be a problem. Scrub, if you were Kamaru Usman, who would you fight next? I'd say Jack Della. He's shown a weakness on the ground. I think almost everyone. If Gilbert Burns is able to take you down, Gilbert Burns is not that good at taking people down. He's improved recently, but he's not that good at taking people down. He can submit you, but he's not good at taking people down. So if Gilbert Burns can take him down, then definitely Kamaru Usman can take him down. So if I was him, I'd actually go for Jack Della Maddalena. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jack is actually improving his takedown defense. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. 69. I think you can easily take flyweights and bantamweight. I think you can easily take flyweights and bantamweights. I appreciate that. That, you know what? There's this promotion called the EFC where Drake Duplessis came from in South Africa. I met one of their bantamweight champions, who I think he's signed to the UFC right now. Nkazimulo Zulu, if I'm not mistaken. I think Nkazimulo Zulu is signed to the UFC. The reason I say that is because Nkazimulo Zulu was the flyweight as well as the bantamweight champion. He was a simultaneous champion, and he relinquished the both belts. So normally when that happens, it means he has been signed or he's going to form part of the contender series for 2025. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So either he's going to be on the Ultimate Fighter 2025 contender series, or he's signed to the UFC. So you are going to be able to see him. I saw that guy. That guy is really talented. So I don't know if I would be able to take him. I would need a little bit more training. Actually, there was a point in my life whereby I wanted to be a fighter, but I'm glad I didn't, because the peak of the sport is the UFC basically, and I don't know, man. Like I've heard the kind of struggles that a lot of fighters go through. I don't think I want to be. in that particular situation. You know, Scrub Legends. I thoughts on Bilal versus Shafkat. I think Bilal wins. Oh, I actually forgot that that fight is actually still happening. Yeah, no, I think Bilal is going to win that fight. I think he's better on the feet. I think he's better as far as wrestling goes. Shafkat might be able to submit him, but that's very unlikely. But we also have to take into consideration that Bilal is a little bit older now. I think he's like 36, or he's turning 37 next year, if I'm not mistaken. So that might play a role in the outcome of the fight, especially because it's welterweight. Normally at welterweight, once you hit 35, you're not going to do really well. But Bilal, he surprised all of us and was able to become a champion at the age of 36. So, maybe he could surprise us. But as far as skill for skill, I feel like Bilal has the striking advantage. As far as boxing, I don't know about the kicking, but I saw his hands against Leon Edwards. Those hands were clean. He was out striking Leon Edwards. So, as far as striking goes, as far as boxing goes, I would lean towards Bilal Mohammed. As far as wrestling, I would lean towards Bilal Mohammed. So, unofficially, I'd say Bilal wins. Um, Charles, thoughts on Pantoja? I feel like he is only beginning to get the respect he deserves. Um, I think I've been one of the people who have been saying Pantoja is going to lose his belt in his next three defenses, right? Including the one he just had. So within the next two defenses, I was saying Pantoja is going to lose his belt. However, I feel like um, um, Kai, I forgot the guy he was fighting. He brought out the best in Pantoja, because I feel like Pantoja looked sensational in that particular fight. Oh, it could mean that the guy was not that great, and Pantoja obviously is the champion, and that's why he looked as incredible as he did. But nonetheless, I feel like Pantoja is really, really talented. Um, I mean, he's one of the few champions. It's sad to see that people like, and I know people love Alex Pereira and the Tom Aspinall, but I feel like Pantoja should be on top of both Alex Pereira and Pantoja. And hear me out, and here's why I say that, right? Pantoja has been fighting elite level fighters. He's been cleaning out his division. He's on a long win streak, right? Alex Pereira was knocked out 4 fights ago, if I'm not mistaken. Alex Pereira was knocked out, and yet he is on top of Alexander Pantoja in a division. To be honest, light heavyweight, and I was saying that at the beginning of the stream. Light heavyweight is not that great, man. Light heavyweight is not that great, and yet he is on top of Pantoja, and I honestly don't agree with that. I feel like Pantoja has been doing significantly more. He should be higher up on the pound for pound list. Um, Unfortunately, Demetrius Johnson has 12 title fights, or title defenses actually, in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken, consecutively. So, I mean, like, I get that Pantoja has been beating, has been cleaning up his division, and I think it's not fair, to be honest, because he got the title shot a little bit later. I feel like maybe if he got the title shot a little bit early in his career, he would have been able to increase his title defenses to that particular level. Some people are fortunate enough to get the title shot very quickly in their career, such as Alex Pereira. Um, but yeah, I think he's probably number two as far as the greatest flyweights in history, and I think that's why he wanted to fight Demetrius Johnson, because he knows that's the only person ahead of him. So if he can beat him, then he can take his spot as the greatest flyweight of all time. So kudos to him, man. I was one of the people who was a little bit skeptic about him, but he's actually earning it, and I love those kind of people. He's earning it. So much respect to him. I don't know. I don't know how to read Japanese, my guy. Kahito Mutsime, thoughts on Dakota Di Cheva. I don't know who that is yet. I'd have to research. If he's on an upcoming fight night, I have to research first. I rely heavily on my research. I don't like giving an opinion without any research because then it's a useless opinion. So I like what I say to have some type of value. Um, Eddie Wig, why are your eyes yellow? I don't know, man, but I don't have eye problems. To be honest, I don't know. But my eyes see very clearly. I don't wear glasses. I've never had eye problems till this day. I'm 32 years old and I've never had eye problems. So I guess it's the color it chose to be. As long as it's not bothering me, I don't have a problem. Even the women don't have a problem with it. So as long as it doesn't affect my love life and it doesn't affect like my sight, you know what? They can be green if they want to be. I hope I wasn't rude though. Um, Bilal beats John Jones by brutal split this. What's up, all and Elvis? What up, my guy? Welcome to the stream, my dude. Welcome to the stream. I haven't spoken to you in a very long time, man. Eddie Wig, I could be John Jones. He's too old now. John Jones is a really talented wrestler, guys. I think we shouldn't forget that. John Jones is a really talented wrestler. So even if you're old, if you can still wrestle, you can beat the majority of people, right? Look at what Jim Miller is able to do at the age of 42. Like at 42, he's able to actually submit people in the first round. I mean, obviously, Demon Jackson is not that great, but at 42, guys, I mean, like that's impressive. So wrestling, is not like kickboxing. Kickboxing relies heavily on speed, reflexes, and durability. When you can wrestle, you don't need all of that. All you need is to just get a hold of someone, put them on the ground, and then you find a way to win. That's the nice thing about wrestling. You don't have to have great reflexes. You don't have to have, I don't know, like all these things, speed, all these things are not necessarily necessary. As long as you can find a way to clinch, and if you're a good wrestler, you should find a way to actually take that person down. And I feel like John Jones is a really good wrestler. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think it's as straightforward as people think it's going to be. Everyone has this mentality that, oh my god, Tom Aspinall is going to run through John Jones. They were saying the same thing about Sergey Pavlovich when Tom Aspinall was fighting him on short notice. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. And people were calling me names. Look what happened. So I don't agree with a lot of people when say Tom Aspinall is going to run through John Jones. I honestly, maybe after doing a bit more research, I can say that. But at this point, I feel like John Jones wrestling is elite enough to actually be able to perform at a high level, even at the age of 40, because of his wrestling. And also, heavyweight does not have that many talented people. Um, and Tom Aspinall has been taken down before, So if John Jones can do it, then it's gonna be a very long night or a very short night for Tom Aspinall. But I need to do more research before I have like a definitive opinion on that. Um, Scarab Legends, your MMA knowledge is awesome. I appreciate that, man. It's because I research. I haven't been watching MMA for a very long time, but because I research, it has allowed me to actually have extensive knowledge on the sport. And also because I watch the sport, I'm passionate about the sport. I don't just cover it because I want to be a popular content creator or an MMA content creator. I'm actually passionate about the sport. The main reason I started my channel was because I was arguing with people on Facebook, right? So every time after every card, because in South Africa MMA was not that big, I would go on Facebook pages and I would be a top fan on those pages, and I'd be like, yeah, what are you talking about? This and this and that. And I would make my arguments there, and I was excited. Every time I woke up, I was excited to see the replies from other fans. Obviously, a lot of the time they were trashing me, calling me a casual, calling me all these things. But I loved it because I love the sport. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm spending too much time on this, and I think it would be better to build a community that I can speak to in a healthy way. And I found you guys, and we can speak in a healthy way. We've been talking for like an hour now, and the conversation is really nice. So it's a combination of research. I research a lot about the sport, and on top of that, I love the sport. I'm passionate about it. I watch early prelims, and the main card. I'm not just one of those people who just watch the main card, and I don't just watch early prelims because I have a channel. I would watch the early prelims even if I didn't have a channel because like that's how passionate I am about the sport. So that's how the knowledge was able to get to where it is because I started watching MMA properly in 2019, but probably fully in 2020. That's when I was like, I'm watching MMA every single day. Okay, every single week. I think you understand what I wanted to say. But I appreciate the compliment, man. It's everything that you hear me say is a reflection of research. What I know is because of research and obviously because I watch the sport every single card. Like I don't miss any card. Even if I see the results beforehand, I make sure that I watch the card still. The Korean guy, hello, I'm from South Korea. What up, my guy? Long time no see. Yeah, I mean, it's the break. It's the break. So I just wanted to talk to you guys. Actually, the purpose of the stream has not been served because I wanted to talk about UFC 311, UFC 312, and Adesanya versus Imavov. But we can talk about that another time. I enjoy this conversation. How are you today? I'm good, my South Korean dude. Scrap Legends. What do you think? Who do you think will be champ at the end of 2025? Um, Heavyweight. Hard to say, man. Despite the fact that I feel like John Jones has a decent shot at winning, I don't know. The fight between John Jones and Tom Aspinall is very close. I'd have to do a little bit more research. But I think John Jones is so smart and so elite at wrestling. Heavyweight, I think it's going to be John Jones. Light heavyweight, I heard the UFC saying Hamza Chimaev might be fighting um, Alex Pereira. If that's true, I'd say Hamza Chimaev is going to be the light heavyweight champion, probably even middleweight champion. Because if it's true, Hamza Chimaev is fighting Alex Pereira, that by the end of next year, Hamza Chimaev will be the middleweight and the light heavyweight champion. Because I would assume that Hamza Chimaev is going to fight with Alex Pereira after Ramadan, which will probably be in April or May. And I think Hamza Chimaev will probably fight two times next year. And I don't think the second time he's going to be defending the belt. I think he's going to go back down to middleweight and fight Dricus du Plessis. But let's remove Hamza Chimaev from the picture. And let's say Alex Pereira fights Magomed Ankalaev next year as well as Carlos Oberg. Why Carlos Oberg? Let me see. You know what? I want to say Magomed Ankalaev, but he's been saying he's not going to wrestle. And if you don't wrestle Alex Pereira, it's gonna be a problem. But I feel like Magomed Ankalaev is a decent enough striker in order to survive getting knocked out. And I think Ankalaev is such a talented fighter or rather, such an intelligent fighter. I feel like if he feels like it's going to be a problem, because he was doing that against Jan Blachowicz. He wanted to strike with Jan Blachowicz, and after his legs were destroyed, he decided, you know what, wrestling might not be that much of a bad idea, and he still found a way to actually win, even though they said it was a draw. So, plus Alex Pereira is like 37, but at the same time, he's training with Glover Teixeira, and Glover Teixeira was able to become a champion at like 42 or 43. You see why I say light heavyweight is not that great, man. Like anyway, I don't know, man. I'm struggling. It's really difficult to actually predict who's going to be champion by December next year. So if Hamza Chimaev, if the rumors are not true and he's not fighting Alex Pereira, I'm going to take a shot and say Ankalaev will be the champion. Middleweight, Hamza Chimaev will be the champion. Um, welterweight, let me see. Oof. Who can beat Bilal? Who's closer to? You know what? You know what? This might sound crazy, but between Bilal and Joaquin Buckley, welterweight champion next year December, I'd say between Bilal and Joaquin Buckley. I don't think it's going to be Ian Gary. I don't think it's going to be Shafkat. I don't think it's going to be Kamaru Usman. I don't think it's going to be Jack Della Maddalena. Let me explain myself. I feel like Jack Della Maddalena has a flaw, which is wrestling. Unless he somehow manages to address that really, really well, he's going to have a problem. Someone like Joaquin Buckley, who can mix it up really well, the striking and the wrestling is going to be a problem for him. Similar to Ian Gary, I think Joaquin Buckley is a more aggressive and a more improved version, or rather a stronger version of Shafkat, in my own opinion. I feel like Joaquin Buckley is a better wrestler. I'd say Shafkat is basically maybe slightly better as far as striking goes. To be honest, at welterweight, I'm going to say it's going to either be Joaquin Buckley. It's going to either be Joaquin Buckley or Bilal Mohammed next year as the champion. Lightweight, Islam Makhachev. Um, let me see. At featherweight, who's going to be champion at featherweight? I don't think Diego Lopez can beat Ilia Tuporia. You know what? This is crazy, but I think if Movza Evloev gets a shot at the belt, I think Movza Evloev at featherweight will be the champion if he gets a shot at the belt. Um, a lot of these things I should be explaining, but there's so much explaining that I have to do. I won't finish. It's going to take another hour, and this phone is like the battery. Okay, but there's still enough battery. And maybe I'll go back and try and explain why I'm saying all these things. I just feel like Movza Evloev was able to effectively fight what do you call him? Was it Brandon Allen, or was it no? It's Arnold Allen. Yes. So Arnold Allen, in my opinion, is one of the most talented strikers, and Movza Evloev was able to beat him basically on the feet. Obviously, he was mixing up everything, but he was able to survive. And he gave us one of the most incredible matches against Aljamain Sterling. I feel like Aljamain Sterling largely had the kind of success he had because Movza Evloev spent a lot of his camp focusing on striking, and he couldn't do that against Aljamain Sterling because Aljamain Sterling wanted to wrestle, and he still won. Um, I still maintain that Ilya Tuporia is a really talented fighter, but he relies too heavily on his knockout power. I think the one person in that division that can give Ilya Tuporia the kind of challenge he needs to have, I think it's Movsar Evloev. I don't think Diego Lopez is going to beat Ilya Tuporia. I don't think Alexander Volkanovski is going to beat Ilya Tuporia. I don't think who else is in the rankings. Who's in the top five? Um, it's Diego Lopez, it's Brian Ortega, it's Movsar Evloev, it's Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway. Yeah, I'd say the only threat to Ilya Tuporia is Movsar Evloev. Diego Lopez is now going to beat Ilya Tuporia. Bantamweight, who's the obviously Umar Nomagomedov. Um, that's not even a question. Like I haven't done enough research, but when you look at Merab Devalishvili, he's not a finisher. He relies on wrestling, and so far, the only credentialed wrestler that Merab has ever faced is Henry Cejudo. The same Henry Cejudo who's been off for years, who came back at the age of like 36 or something like that, meaning he was past his prime. So it's not like that great of a win, and he's not Umar. Umar is really talented, both incredible on the feet, incredible on the ground. He's basically a bantamweight version of Islam. So, and when I look through the rankings, Sean O'Malley is now going to beat Umar. Piotr Yan is now going to beat Umar. Um, Corey Sanhagen is now going to beat Umar. I can't see anyone in the top five who can beat Umar. I'd like to see Peyton Talbot rise up the rankings. I feel like that would be an interesting fight because I feel like Peyton Talbot is a very talented fighter. Is he fighting at featherweight or bantamweight? I can't remember actually. I think it's featherweight, ne? Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point. He's too far down. So yeah, bantamweight is Umar, and then flyweight possibly Kai Kara France, possibly Kai Kara France. So those are the people who I think will be champions by the end of next year. Um, Ojida, are you an MMA analyst? Yeah, I'd say I'm an MMA analyst. I've been avoiding calling myself that, but I think because I've predicted so many fights that I feel like I can call myself an analyst at this point. Uh, Kahiso, where are you from, my guy? That's a South African name. Kahiso Mutsemme. You're welcome in advance. She's really good. Oh, okay. I'm looking forward to actually seeing her then. Kahiso, Odeja MMA. What kind of analyst doesn't know about Dangerous Dakota Dicheva? I mean, to an analyst is not someone who knows everything about the sport. You analyze fights. That's what being an analyst is. There's an analyst who only focuses on boxing, right? I don't focus on MMA as a whole. If by that logic, then it means every analyst should know every fighter from UFC, PFL, One Championship, Bellator, Octagon, like every single promotion. That's impossible, dude. Like that's impossible. So unfortunately, if you truly believe that every analyst knows every single athlete, or rather every single MMA athlete on the planet, I hate to break it to you, but that's not the case. Odeja MMA, you're right, Kahiso. What's your take on that? Kahiso Madzeme, are you passionate about the sport, MMA, or just the UFC? Um, Once upon an oil fest, MMA guru is picking a man to beat Islam. Your thoughts? I don't think Aman has improved enough to actually beat Islam Makhachev. Um, Number one, he went to a decision with Charles Oliveira, right? Charles Oliveira is not that good of a wrestler. He's good at submitting people, but he's not a good of a wrestler. Islam Makhachev finished Charles Oliveira. Aman Sarukian went to a decision with him. Those are the only. I think that's the only common opponent they have, right? Another thing is, I mean, we saw the first fight. Islam was better on the ground. I think Islam is better on the feet. The only advantage I'd give to Aman Sarukian is the knockout power. I'm not surprised that MMA Guru picked Aman Sarukian. Obviously, he doesn't like. He picked Robert Whittaker to beat Hamza Chimaev. Really? No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. No, 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 no. I think he picked Robert Whittaker if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he picked Robert Whittaker. Yeah, I remember he was actually saying Robert Whittaker has improved and all these type of things. Yeah, he picked the Robert Whittaker. Did he? Maybe I'm wrong. I stand to be corrected, but if memory serves me correctly, he picked Robert Whittaker to win that particular fight, and he was wrong. So I'm not surprised he's picking Aman Sarukian. I wouldn't be surprised if he picked Merab Devalishvili, although I doubt he will. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he picks Merab Devalishvili. He has something against people who are welcome in Saudi Arabia for whatever reason. So yeah, I think Islam is significantly better. Charles James, I just can't see Islam losing right now. Yep, I agree with that. Odeja MMA, that should answer your cue, Gahiso. Yes. User 96, bro, do you know Kenny Okoye? No, not really. Once upon an oil first, I think Aman versus Islam is very close, but Islam wins by decision. I agree. Obviously, the first fight was close, and I don't think this fight will be any different. But I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Islam Makhachev manages to finish Aman Sarukian on the feet, not on the ground, on the feet, right? Because I felt like on the feet, Islam Makhachev is significantly better. Scrap Legends, I think Jamal beats Jiri. I think so too. Unless Yiri improves somehow, but I also think so. Kahiso Mudzim Odeja, she is like early Easy and early Anderson Silva in one. Okay. Scrap Legends, reach out to the guys on the African Fighters podcast. You will be a great addition to their panel. I talked to the team if you're interested. Scrap Legends, yeah. I mean, I don't even know the podcast, but I would like to start building relationships with YouTubers, because so far I don't think I know anyone. I just focus on my channel. So yeah, if truly you have a relationship with them, you can contact them on my behalf. My email is on my channel, but you have to log in with a PC or something. I realized that on the phone, you can't see the email when you check my about section. You can't see the email. You can only see it when you log in with a laptop. That's when you're going to see the email. You just click on the description, you'll see the email. But when you log in with a laptop or something like that, so yeah, you can communicate with me from that point on. Um, I'd be interested. Charles Kelly, Jiri taking a lot of damage recently, and his chin has always been necessary to his style success. May see a decline after those two brutal KOs. I would have liked to see Yiri Prohaska at middleweight. I just feel like the UFC is not allowing him to go to middleweight, which sucks, to be honest. Um, um, Once upon an oil fest, Scrap Legends, I heavily agree. Jiri is too defensively flawed. I feel like people hate on Hill because of his antics and his quick loss to Pereira, but he's decent. I feel like Hill chins Jiri. I also feel that way, but we never know. We might find out that Jiri has been actually improving. Re ya kgalola mo metsing sa bula bomb. Ba o romile. O rumi- Kgalole mo bra. Oh. Kagiso Mozomme, she just finished Talia Santos, who lost to Valentina Shevchenko by split decision. I mean, Santos is not the same, and Santos is a little bit older now, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, Jake Paul finished Tyron Woodley, who is a former UFC champion. I mean, that doesn't really mean much. Jake Paul beat Anderson Silva, who is one of the most legendary fighters in the UFC. Rain is coming, guys. I might have to stop the stream. But let me actually continue as far as I can. I agree. I can't wait for that fight. User 96 watching. Which fight style is best suited for street fight, in your opinion? I don't know, man. I feel like a lot of people on the street, they think striking is the best option. A lot of people don't know how to wrestle, so commonly common people don't know how to wrestle, right? A lot of people, whenever you hear about a street fight, you don't see people on the ground. You normally see people boxing, and we all know, as far as any MMA fan knows, that if you put a boxer and a wrestler in a ring, a wrestler is most likely going to win. So I'd say wrestling. I think wrestling is the best, the basis for a street fight. Once upon an oil fest. Um, let me change locations. It's about to rain. If it gets too much, unfortunately, I have to end the stream. As long as Ilya is champ, Movza ain't touching the belt. Okay, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, my guy. I disagree with that. Um, Tamic MMA moment. Hey, Movza Mafia 25. Guys, it's raining. I have to go. I love and appreciate all of you. Until next time, I'll try to UFC 211 and 312 and then other cards. I enjoyed this. We spoke for like 1 hour 22 minutes, which was really awesome. Um, until next time, I love and appreciate all of you. Deuces.